Hello and welcome back to Meemaw Gaming. This is my guide to League of Legends, and this episode I'm going to be talking about item builds. There are many different items in League of Legends. Some increase some stats, some increase others, but they all do something to either help your character, and generally they all have their advantages and disadvantages. Some items can be used to build up to others. Other items are just super items that certain champions just need, or certain types of champions will need. But to start with, I'm going to be talking about the stats of each champion. And what do I mean by the stats? Well, each champion has what's known as base stats. At the start of the game, these can be improved through runes and masteries and different out-of-game stuff. However, where you're going to get most of these stats from is through items, and a lot of players will use these items in ways to help their champion. Selecting the right items for a champion is something that some people struggle to do, and I will link to a couple of websites in the description of places that actually give you good item builds. You can even just Google champion name builds. So, if you're playing Zac for the first time, it's like, what would I build him? Zac build. And usually you can base a build around what you see there. If you see loads of tanky items, yeah, build them tanky. But you've got to remember also be situational. Now, different stats affect different things. So some stats will affect how good your ability power is, which scales some abilities on some champions. Others scale your attack damage, which scales other abilities on other champions. However, they all do something that helps your champion. So quickly, I'll run through some of the more commonly seen stats, and you can learn about others yourself by just going into a game and clicking on the little icon at the bottom left. Hit points is your health, that's how much damage you can take before you drop dead. Mana or energy, this is used when you use an ability. You've got attack damage and ability power, both these are used for different abilities, and it's more ability specific as to which one you want. You can always check that again on the wiki. You've got armor penetration and magic penetration. This just gets through resistances, such as armor and magic resistance. Lifesteal and spell vamp is about doing damage to heal yourself. Armor and magic resist are resistances to reduce damage, physical or magic damage. And that's the basic ones out of the way. There are a couple of others, but the League of Legends wiki can cover those for you if you need to know about them. Now about the items that each of these improves and marines, well, the items that you want to get is also based on what kind of champion you're playing, because there are 5 different types of champions, or 5 different generic types of champions. Some fall into little areas in between them. But generally you've got your top laners, which are champions that are usually bruisers. They're fairly tanky, and those will become the tanks of the team normally. And they do a decent damage with a mix of their abilities and their basic attacks. You've got your mid laners. These usually use magic and abilities to do lots of damage, and if need be they can get a Lich Bane, an item, which will improve their basic attacks damage based on their AP. They'll build AP because that's what their abilities scale off, and they're not exactly the tankiest. You don't see them very often building tanky items. You've got junglers who have stuns, and they're very good initiators of a fight. They'll have stuns, they'll have leaps, they'll have jumps, and they'll just be getting in there and getting stuck in. And these guys will be very useful in lane. I've covered that in another video. And then in the bottom lane, you'll have 2 champions. You'll have your supports who don't use the kill minions, and I'll cover them in another episode because I prefer support, honestly. And then you'll have your AD carries who use the basic attacks instead of their abilities. And if you use this kind of layout of where your champions are and what kind of items they build, it will spread out the damage that your team can do and give your team a lot more. And this is a sort of layout that the pros use, and it's what's known as the meta as well. This is something you want to take into consideration when you're making your build. If you're playing an AD carry, but you're really using a lot of abilities and you're building AP, your enemies just build a bit of magic resist and your team can't do damage to them. So that's where I say you've got to build situationally. If you see an enemy team and they're all spellcasters, they're all mid laners, they're still going to the lanes, but they're all damaging AP, then you just don't build magic resist and they won't be able to do damage to you. So your builds matter a lot more, and they're a lot more situational than your runes and masteries, which is decided long before the game. Often I'll have just a set of 9 different mastery pages and just select one of these based on the champion I'm playing. I've got AD tanky, I've got AP, I've got ones that gives me better gold and XP. It all depends on how I'm playing and which champion I'm playing. Now for your builds, like I say, you're going to want to search what kind of build is preferable with your champion. Either look at the abilities if you know what you're doing and select items based on those abilities. But at the start of the game, you're very limited to what you can buy due to your low gold. And that's why I say, unless you really know what you're doing and you've become experienced in what kind of champions work well with what items, definitely look for a build online. And like I say, I'll leave a link down below to a good website for finding builds, and just search the champion name in that. You can tab out of a game whilst it's starting, and just base it off that. Now there are more generic starts for each area or each champion, but to put it simply, there's 3 items that you're going to want to get unless you're a support, and like I say, that's another video because my main support. Now remember, none of these Duran's items can be built into anything, but what you do, you sell them when you get to about your 3rd or 4th main item, and they'll have done the job. There's slight bonuses for the start, and getting the right one can give you big advantage. Alongside these, get as many health pots as you can for that sustain early gain. Now, top laners will usually go for a Duran shield. This will give you extra health and extra health regen. Like I say, top laners usually a lot more tanky bruisers. They're going to be up at the front lines of a battle. They're going to need to be tanky. Whilst early game it's not quite as vital because you're going to be in your lane, this just helps you get started in the game as a bruiser. AD carries, you're going to want to get Duran's Blade. This gives you a bit less extra health, but also gives you 8 extra attack damage, and also has a passive ability of regen your health. This is a good AD item as it gives you a bit of AD to start the game, and if you get this, you've got a slight advantage over your opponent if they don't get this. Mid laners are going to want the Duran's Ring. This gives you AP, less health than the other 2 items, but then again, you're not going to need it in the mid lane, you do too much damage. And it also gives you mana regen, which you're going to need because a mid laner uses lots of mana. It's only a slight bit of mana regen to start with, but that should keep you going until you get the blue buff from your jungler, which should be on the 2nd run. Now junglers, I've covered in another episode, link to that here, and supports, there's a number of different items out there for them now, and you're going to want to Google and see what kind of champion you're playing as a support. Some will want some items, others will want other items, and I guess it's more how your playstyle is, depends on what support you want. Like I say, that's another video. Thank you for watching me more gaming, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've got any questions down in the comments. There's a link to my Twitter as well if you want to contact me there. I'll put the links I said in the video in the description, and let me know if there's anything else you want to do. I'm planning on doing some live commentaries of full games. Let me know if you want to see that, or if you think I should just stick to doing this, and let me know if there's any other series or games or whatever you want to see, and I'll see you next time.